Hi, this is Heidi, episode 98, Anger and Masking Vulnerability. Life isn't a spectator sport. Success comes to those who show up every day with a pocket full of courage, grit, and a little sparkle. I'm glad you're here. Hello, how are you, family and friends? How is the end of summer going for you? My daughter asked to put our pumpkin decor out in our living room, and I'm just not sure I can yet. Maybe this weekend. Okay, I want to jump right into today's topic. Once again, this is a topic I've had on my podcast topic list for a long time, and I keep seeing examples of it in my life, in my clients' lives, with my children, so I hope you'll listen, share the episode, and can really apply a few of these tools. Okay, I want to talk about anger, and specifically what anger is and what it is masking or covering up. Let's start with the basics. I looked up a basic definition of anger on dictionary.com, and it says anger is a strong feeling of displeasure and belligerence aroused by a wrong, or its wrath or ire. So I do like the definition because anger comes from a belief that we have been wronged, and our primitive or lower brain on default tells the body that a strong negative response is helpful and how we should respond to the situation. So that is what our lower brain says. And since we process everything in life through this brain, it may seem useful to feel angry. And here's the sneaky thing. Anger does feel good for a little bit. Anger is a more powerful feeling than the real emotions that lie under anger. So for a hot minute or two, anger may be our preferred emotion and how we want to respond to a situation, how we want to respond to our boss when we're let go, how we want to respond to our child who says, I hate you and wish you weren't my parent, how we want to respond when someone cuts us off in traffic, and so on and so on. We all know people who seem to live their lives in a state of anger, and this could because they don't know any alternative. Or it could be because it seems falsely useful to them to stay angry. And that is because anger is always covering up a more vulnerable emotion. So again, anger seems like a powerful emotion. Maybe cortisol streams through our body, which prepares our body to fight. And we feel this way because we feel the need to defend ourselves. Again, remember, we put up our defenses when we have something to defend, when there is an underlying vulnerability that we have to protect so we don't get hurt. I love how Byron Katie says, defense is the first act of war. So when we feel angry and defensive in our body, it's good to do a big check in emotionally and ask, what's really going on? And do we want to go to war? Will we like how we show up? Is the thing I'm fighting for really worth the anger and emotional price I'm about to pay? Okay, if someone has broken into our house and is physically attacking us and our family, yes, anger is a very useful emotion that our body will kick in to protect us. We want to be angry in those situations and probably a few others. But luckily, most of us are not in those situations that often. Anger is a very closed emotion. When we're angry, blinders go on our head and we can't see rationally. Getting tense literally narrows our focus so we don't process factors in a situation that may be important to the conclusions that we're making. Remember, open emotions like curiosity or happiness or peace or so many more, those emotions take the blinders off. Those emotions feel open in our bodies. Closed emotions like anger or fear or disgust or insecurity, closed emotions literally feel like our body is closing in. The blinders go up so we process less information. And our thoughts stay spinning in our lower brain that is just trying to keep us alive. Okay, now real quick, think about going to talk to your child's guidance counselor. Picture how you and your body feel if you're feeling calm and curious about your child's grades or their schedule versus how you feel when you're going in angry and mad that the school isn't supporting your child. Two different emotions in our bodies. The first is open. The second is closed. So let's talk about anger and fear before I give you more examples and tools. Anger and fear are very connected. Remember, our lower brain will kick into fight, flight, or freeze, just like the example I just used where someone breaks into our house and is attacking our family. Anger is useful because we want to fight. Our brain fears death. The problem becomes when we get so angry and spin out of control that we don't stop to ask a few really important questions. What am I afraid of here? Or maybe we get angry because someone else is angry and we don't stop to say, well, what are they afraid of here? Y'all, we all have fears. We're all afraid of something, even though we usually hide these fears well. If we can stop to ask this question and learn to process and handle what is underneath it, we can change our emotional responses. We may still get angry, but we get to use our higher confident brain to decide if anger really will be useful. Okay, let's go through a lot of examples. First, let's say you check your child's grades and they're much lower than you'd want, or they could maybe get. I know from experience, anger can very easily rise quickly. And by the way, it took me years to learn how to manage this with online grades being so available to parents. We're angry, but what are we afraid of? The fear is that the child will continue to get bad grades, won't graduate, and won't get into a good college. We fear the grades represent a future that's less than what we'd like and we've hoped for our children. And usually we fear that this represents we have failed as parents. So it's good for us to acknowledge these fears are here, and you add any additional fears that you might have when you see that, okay? Getting those fears out into the light reduces the power they have over us immediately, because fears have less power instantly when we name them and see them. Not getting rid of them, just seeing them, tells the fears that we're in charge, not them. Once we see the fears, it's easier for us to then question, are these fears reasonable? Will me getting angry help my child? Does my anger project confidence to my child that they can handle these situations? And ultimately, do I like how I show up with my child when I'm angry and fear is driving the car? Probably not. So notice under that anger is, yes, fear, but also disappointment, insecurity, embarrassment, and grief. Those are all so much more vulnerable emotions, and we feel less powerful when we are allowing those emotions. So anger could feel useful and could feel better than feeling shame or sadness, because we feel like anger may encourage our child to work harder or such. So we feel like we're doing something to change another person's actions and behavior. But in reality, our children and anyone else in the world will only do something because their thoughts and emotions about that situation change or maybe stay the same. And anyone is more likely to want to improve and change when they feel better about themselves, not worse. Okay, another situation. I remember years ago being very angry at the world for a few reasons. I was angry that things I wanted in life seemed to come harder for us and seemed, again, my perception, to come easier to others. In reality, the anger was rooted in a fear that my life wouldn't turn out the way I had hoped it would. I might not be able to have children or might not have financial or employment options that we had wanted. The fake power of anger seemed more useful than feeling uncertainty or feeling disappointment or leaning into faith and taking more courageous risks. Luckily, I was able to pivot out of the anger, but not as quickly as if I had had these tools. At the time, it seemed so scary to just acknowledge and see the fears and vulnerabilities, as if seeing them would invite them into my life. Ironically, they were always there the whole time. They always are, y'all. We're always afraid of something. And our inability to name it actually gives the fear more power. Let's take a common everyday situation. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Why do we get angry with this? What's the fear? First, we're usually angry because we think it's rude for someone to do this. But under that, I think we fear that other people will get ahead of us in life by doing things like cutting us off. We have so many beliefs of how people should live their lives, And when they don't follow our rules, we get angry. Turns out, though, everyone else is in charge of their choices, not us. We get to decide if the anger of someone else cutting us off is useful. Does it help the situation? Usually not. And do we like how it fuels the rest of our day? Again, usually not. I remember being angry a few times as we were building our house because of things I thought were done wrong and maybe things that were in reality done wrong. The underlying fear was we're wasting our money. This will cost us more. We'll be in temporary housing longer. I won't get what I want. All of those thoughts and emotions are more vulnerable than feeling the anger. Now, was anger useful? Well, only in one situation. The other anger really just hurt me and closed my mind off to rationally processing the totality of the situation. This question, what am I afraid of, is always what we need to be asking about other people in our lives who seem so rooted in anger. And we're trying really hard not to mirror their anger, or we want to respond in a more mature way. Now, this is what that looks like. As parents of teenagers, a lot of us are quick to take their phones away as a consequence if they haven't done any number of things or in response to their behavior or whatever it is. I'm guessing we've all seen the anger that may produce, especially if they aren't expecting us to take it, if we haven't laid out clear consequences. I've had several clients tell me of the anger they can feel as the child explodes in anger, and this is how I work through it with them. First, it's incredibly useful to ask, what is the child afraid of? Okay, we took their phone. We took their connection to their friends, to their entertainment, to their freedom, and more. So they're fearing that they've lost relationships, and their lower brain is telling them to fight for their physical and emotional survival. They may be fearing that they may lose a boyfriend or girlfriend. They may fear that they won't be cool, whatever it is. Now, it's usually after the fact, when our emotions have cooled down, that we go through these exercises. But it's very important to do because the same fears will come up with their anger that will inevitably pop up again. Now, let's say we got very angry at the words they were saying, at how they responded. What's under our anger? To find it, we ask ourselves, and I probe deep with my clients, what am I afraid of here? Well, it could be we fear our child is too dependent on their phone. We fear we aren't being good parents by allowing them access to a phone. We fear our child really means what they say to us, and that us taking the phone is hurting our relationship with our child. Maybe we fear our child will stay angry and will be angry and physically hurtful to other people in our house and walls or whatever they encounter. Maybe we fear our rules aren't quite right in our house, and so on. Again, see how those fears reveal the vulnerabilities that we feel, which our lower brain doesn't want to feel. It thinks anger is more useful. It puts up the anger defense to protect us from getting hurt. And there is no hurt coming from the outside. All of the hurt coming from those thoughts and beliefs is all coming from our own thoughts, our own assumptions, and how we interpret our own rules and such. We're vulnerable to our own mental constructs of what life should be like, of how we and or our children should act. So just seeing the fears of others and our own fears, we've put our higher, more confident brain back online. Now, in many cases with anger, it takes time for this to happen. And we may need to remove ourselves physically from the situation. There is nothing wrong with telling a child, I need to calm down, I need to breathe, and I'll come back and discuss this with you. As simple as it is, breathing and relaxing your body as long as you need to will help the anger move through your body. Tell yourself over and over, I am feeling angry because I'm thinking my children shouldn't be acting this way. Or I'm feeling angry because I'm thinking my spouse shouldn't talk to me this way. Or I'm feeling angry because I think people shouldn't drive that way. The very act of saying those things reminds your brain that you create your emotions by your thoughts. You don't need to change your thoughts at this moment. You just need to get control. Now, you may choose anger as the emotion you want to stay with, but in many cases, anger doesn't fuel actions that are consistent with who we really want to be. Anger usually doesn't fuel love or empathy or compassion. Now, let me say here, often it isn't helpful to tell the other person what we think they may be afraid of under their anger. This question and the answers we come up with will usually stay in our mind. They don't come into play in the discussion, but it helps us be more understanding. It helps us see the situation from a bigger picture, and it helps us move from the closed to a more open emotion. We usually see other solutions as well. Years ago, I remember being beyond angry at a situation that had occurred with my child and a teacher at school. And I was there, so I witnessed all of it. I stayed in anger and I processed it for almost a whole day. I didn't want to respond from that place, though. I knew I wanted to respond in a way that would project confidence and humility and be respectful. Again, it took a full day, but I'm glad I took the time to ask in my mind, what is this teacher or the school afraid of here? Now, those fears didn't come into the discussion, but when I saw them, I found more respect and I found an ounce of compassion for the teacher, and I was able to root myself in my integrity. And my son was able to see the entire way how I responded. So I hope it was a good example to him of how to handle it. I think it allowed him to be less angry since he had to see this teacher all the time. He resiliently handled the rest of the year, which I think was partly due to us handling our part without anger. Now, think of the people that we see angrily defending their political beliefs, either side. The anger feels more powerful than sitting in the vulnerability and the fear that they have underlying that. That fear could be that what they believe so deeply as being, quote, the right way to live isn't how some people want to live. And this could feel attacking to some people. Some may feel vulnerable of how their life will change with too many others who want to enact laws that don't support their beliefs. So anger seems useful. Is it? I don't know. Maybe. I don't choose it. I believe anger may be the seed that sparks change, but rarely is anger the fuel that sustains thoughtful and transforming change. It's good for us, though, to allow others to be angry and for us to choose if we want to be angry at them or with them. Does it serve us? I don't know. We all get to choose that. Now, one last example. For many years, my close friend processed loans at a prestigious bank, and she said people came in angry all the time. I remember her telling me how she kept in control of her emotions. She remembered that they were afraid they'd lose their money or lose their home or lose their opportunity for something better. And she saw their anger as being a big shield covering those vulnerabilities. It helped her stay sane and stay calm when, of course, her brain wanted to mirror on default the anger. She didn't change the emotions of the people coming in, but her being in control helped her, and she liked how she showed up as an employee, and she often found ways to help clients when she saw them all with these shields up when they were angry. Now remember, when we stay unnecessarily angry, we hurt ourselves. No one else feels this anger. And almost always, it doesn't get us closer to solutions or to people. So always ask, and maybe after you've taken a bunch of deep breaths, what am I afraid of here? What is the other person afraid of? Is the anger useful? Is the anger fueling me towards solutions that I want? Do I like how I show up here? Is it my highest self? And finally, who do I want to be in this situation? Any mix of these questions will get your higher confident brain back on track and will propel you to stay in control of your emotions, to stay off the emotional roller coaster other people in your life are on. This is amazing work. Just getting control of our anger can change the emotional energy of our homes, of our families, of our lives. If you would like personalized, individual, one-on-one coaching to help you anchor your emotions, manage your anger, sign up for a consult call at HeidiBenjaminson.com. We all need someone outside of the frame helping us see the whole picture. A confident mother is the greatest gift to her family, not a perfect mother. Our families want us to feel confident, anchored, and calm. I can help you uncover this version of yourself. Have a great week.